Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome back. Welcome back to the Projectworks podcast. This is a conversation and community for high growth consulting leaders about the stuff that keeps us up at night. Today, I'm joined by two co-hosts. Welcome back, Mark, who's our Projectworks CEO, Mark Orttung, and Matt Hayter, who is the Projectworks OG co-founder and Chief Product Officer. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
Good. Now, I have a poll I'm ready to launch because today we are talking about the new rules to win more work, a topic that I'm very passionate about after being a sales leader for a very long time and looking after customers. And as we know, times change really quickly. How you win work differs all the time. So, what I'm going to kick off first is I've got a poll for people who are online. Let me launch this. The poll is, how many of your proposals do you win? I want to see how you think you're tracking out there. But first of all, welcome to you both. This is going to be a good conversation, a good topic. You ready for this one, Mark?
I am, yeah. I spent most of my time at Nexient trying to win new work. So yeah, I'm passionate about this topic.
Yep, I remember you saying once that this was the stuff that really did keep you up at night, the winning new work, the people on the
100%.
bench. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, revenue fixes everything, almost everything. Maybe there's a
yeah,
couple things it doesn't, but if you're growing as a services firm, like 8 or 10 problems go away.
yeah,
And if you're
absolutely.
flat or shrinking, there's so many pain points.
And it's that
Yeah.
phrase often, it's like, it's a good problem to have. You know, here, so if that happens, that'll be a good problem to solve.
Yes.
Welcome to the crew, Matt, for this episode 3, season 2 of the Projectworks podcast. Welcome along. And I feel like you have definitely had your share of worrying about winning work in your career as well.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's great to finally be invited along. Um, no, this is a pretty cool topic. My background before Projectworks in consulting obviously involved a lot in helping with proposals and closed deals, and now being able to be kind of on the other side, building software to help companies like with this problem that I've felt kind of firsthand is those are the most fun problems to work on, right? Where you've
Yeah,
had a pain that you've lived, that quite literally does keep you up at night sometimes, and now to be able to be building some pretty incredible product functionality that's really going to be quite incredible for some of our customers, I think. So pretty
yeah, I
excited
agree.
to talk a little bit about what we're doing a bit later.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Okay, we've got some results. They're still coming in. I can see this. So far, we've got people say they think the proposal win to conversion rate is 30 to 40%. I feel like that's pretty good. We've got some people sitting here at 60 to 70%. I think that's one or two. They're doing pretty well. But I
Awesome.
feel like it feels pretty good, 30 to 40%. I feel like that's a pretty good conversion. Like if I'd say like if you were winning 50% of all your work, that's a pretty good, like 50-50. What do you think, Mark? What would you like to sit at when you were
I
at
think
now?
30 to 40 is great,
I think it's
actually.
pretty
Because if
healthy.
you're,
Yeah.
I would think if you're winning 50, I'd say maybe you should bid on more things. I don't know, like
It's
that,
true. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, 30 to 40 feels like the sweet spot to me.
Or maybe
Yeah.
put your prices up.
Maybe put your
Yeah.
prices up. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right. And I think it's interesting because, to be in the game, that's the thing. You're not going to win them all. That's another famous saying around there. But, of course, it depends on the makeup of your client base, right? Are you winning more from incumbents? Do you feel like you've kind of got a foothold in an organization? And then it's much more likely that you have to, but you still have to pitch formally, but it's more likely that you're going to win that. Are you a business in a position where you're like really hungry for new growth or diversifying your client base? So you're really pitching for a lot of new business and that your conversion rate might be a little bit lower. Those are interesting kind of angles to think about for when you're looking at your conversion rate. But in preparation for this, we did think about like, well, if the topic is really how are things changing, the new rules to win more work. We dug into some of our data, and I'm reading some results that we had there. We had a look, and in the past 2 years, Projectworks platform data showed us that the average project budget has halved, while the number of average in-flight projects has doubled. So that is a real change in 2 years. What I'm hearing is you're having to potentially bid on and then run more and more projects, but they're smaller, right? And so that is just a totally different business model if you're running, two large projects opposed to 5 small ones. There's just so much more complexity in there. And then I would also say that you're probably having to pitch more. Your sales team are becoming busier, right? Because you're smaller projects. And complexity. I think you, Mark, you've spoken about that a bit before, about the complexity that comes with that, around, because you need some of your delivery teams often to help with these pitches, right?
Yeah, 100%. You've got to get, we always wanted to get practitioners in to really dive in and figure out what we're going to deliver.
Yeah.
But I was talking to a friend who's in selling software consultancy services to a large enterprise. And he said his clients have just come to him and said the price is roughly half of what it used to be. You just, if you want to be
Right.
competitive, that's where you need to bid. And I was like, okay, well, so are you guys doing that? And he said, yes, we're bidding at about half of what we used to. And I was like, have you worked out how to deliver and still get your margin? He's like, nope, we have not worked that
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah.
the assumption is you have AI tools, you can use fewer people,
Yeah.
bid at half. And
Yeah.
the large buyers have enough leverage. They're just saying, like, just bid at half,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
pretty wild.
It's pretty, and that is hard because I think, if you're in that, especially if these are almost existing customers or that they are in your ICP, it's not like you're really going out on a ledge to bid for new business. You're like, this is the sort of business that we've identified we want to be winning, but there's smaller budgets and smaller projects, or you have to keep bidding across different phases. And that just it comes with more complexity around that as well. All the way from your salesperson having to bid more, having to get your delivery team in more to quote that up, having to the logistics around that. So that's really what we're going to be talking about today. We want to unpack what works, what doesn't work when it comes to winning work, the changes, and some potential, thoughts around that, tips and tricks, or what we're seeing in the market. And then, because we have our Chief Product Officer here, you're going to get a bit of a sneak peek from Matt of what we've been working on at Projectworks, which we really believe will make winning work easier. So before we just dive in, I really want to invite questions. So any questions from the audience where you've got there, please drop them in the chat. I will be keeping an eye on that, and we will answer as many as we can. And we've got a few talking points that we wanted to go through. So the first one, which I'm going to hand over to either of you to answer here, we were talking about if projects are smaller and more frequent, as we've just sort of identified, where do we think that winning work breaks first? The speed or the quality or the follow-up? Now, this is in terms of winning that work. I've got some thoughts here, but would love to hear yours first.
I'm worried about the quality. If you have to do twice as many proposals and you don't probably have enough time to do that. And at least in most places I've been, the really senior practitioners are required to make sure the proposal's right, the story's right, the solution's good. And I don't think they don't have any more time than they used to, but now you're asking them to do twice as many sort of checks, like, is this one right? Is it good? So I'd be worried about quality. Curious to
And
hear
in
what
fact,
you
they're
guys think.
probably, when I was in as well, like running a sales team and a consultancy, the process would be sales team would bring that lead in, and then they would sort of apply for pre-sales time from the very technical people who are very busy doing projects, right? So I've got this great opportunity. Can you help figure out how we're actually going to deliver that? And then if the projects are smaller and they're busier, those people are probably busier, like they're probably like
Yeah.
also running more, which is harder. So therefore their pre-sales time is probably lower as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the practitioners that you're bringing in to help put proposals together, they're still billable and generally have kind of utilization targets. So there's not more time to go around. So you're using the same amount of capacity to service more proposals. So inevitably quality is going to drop, right?
Yeah.
And then also working on smaller proposals, you're eroding your margin by more time, more non-billable time. That comes at that opportunity cost as well.
Totally.
Of your practitioners are no longer billing that time because they're spending more time on proposals. To win a smaller amount of revenue, quality drops, and then you can kind of end up in like a bit of a loop where if you start eroding your company margin, and then as a consulting firm, as you start to get on the back foot, then you start to make more compromised decisions. You might take on work that you don't actually want, and you can get into kind of like a bit of a spiral quite quickly. You lose control of winning the work that you want and being in command. You have to start doing things that you wouldn't otherwise do, and that can be detrimental.
It's a really good point, actually, Matt, because I think as again, from leading sales in different size firms, I think when you're a little bit smaller and nimble, like say you're 20 or 30, it's much more likely that the founder or the leader or the CEO is quite involved in every bit. You know what I mean? They know the work going on. As that becomes a bit larger and that kind of responsibility becomes a little bit more diversified, it's more likely that a direct salesperson can go to a delivery lead or something, and be like, hey, I need 5 hours of your delivery time. So then sometimes without that visibility, you can end up, these people start bidding on this work and putting in this pre-sales time, before it's sort of the overview, of being like, well, if we're bidding on all these projects, if we're bidding in these 10 projects, I would rather us put most of our time into these 4, if I had to put in billable time, because I think they're most likely to win. They set our ICP, they're where I'm going, rather than even necessarily being spread out. And I think that's sometimes a problem that happens as you grow and you're bidding on work. How do you decide where that sort of pre-sales time should go?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. As you lose that, I think founders by nature are very pedantic people. So as you lose their visibility, and salespeople by nature, and rightly so, act with urgency and they're trying to get stuff out. Yeah. So, you lose some of that maybe QA with that scale. And so you send a proposal out with a spelling mistake. If I get a proposal with a spelling mistake, I'm like, this is done. Well, I'm like, a proposal, it's like a CV with a spelling mistake. Yeah. Like, there's no excuse now. Totally. And it's like, this is the best you are ever going to see of this person in a proposal. This is the top bar of their quality in a proposal. Like, this is the very best. So if you send me a proposal with a spelling mistake, see ya.
Yeah. I love that. I agree. I think this is it. So if you're going to, it is, again, putting your best foot forward, I think we've decided. Now, I have another stat that our team gave us, kind of loops in with this. On our recent report on winning work, we saw that an average firm produces 91 proposals a year. That sounds about right to me. And spends 24 hours on each, which again seems low actually for me, if I'm being honest, depending on how big the proposal is. But if you put that together, that's a whole year of someone's time. And it's like one of those things that, like mini stats you could do, but a whole year of someone's time. And that's just one person. And so even if you go half of that time as a salesperson and half of that time as someone who's more delivery focused, that's a lot of billable hours.
I suspect it's actually more than what is reflected in the data too, just by the nature of sales and proposals. It's a lot of outside time, it might not be showing up in
even before you get the proposal, the formal proposal, you've normally been like,
So I think this is the minimum amount being spent.
Yeah.
And for us, most of the practitioners were billing their whole week, and then this was like extra time for them. Right. I don't know how common that is, but for us, most of this pre-sales work was not like part of their 40 hours. It was 41 to 45 or something like that was when they were doing it.
It's a crazy amount of time. And I think, you're right. I think, Matt, you said it around like utilization. That's such a common thing that, founders, owners, boards are looking at. What's our utilization? How can we incrementally change that? Turn a small dial here so that it can happen. And then there's this like whole massive bucket of work here essentially that's being done that could be billable hours. It seems crazy.
Yeah.
How did you do that in your past firms, I guess, Mark? What was the setup? For me, as I kind of explained, when I was in a consultancy, we had a formal process. So my sales team had to qualify the opportunity to a certain degree, and then they had a go, no-go with me. And then I would say to them, okay, you can now essentially apply for pre-sales work with the team. And then I sort of went, and the head of delivery had to figure out who the best person would be. And there would be debates whether we'd put someone in our sales team that was technical, but then if they were in the sales team, then they'd almost be away from the tools. So it was kind of this like catch.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of our fundamental rules was that we had to have practitioners doing the proposal. So that last point you made, we had the same problem. If you took someone out of being a practitioner, their skills would become dull very quickly. So you had to have them in market doing work with clients. We had gotten to the third level where, founder does everything in the first level, maybe sales team does in the second, and then we had decentralized. So we had 5 regions that each
Yeah.
owned their own business development. And
Yeah.
so that fight over who's gonna like get pre-sale support
Yeah.
happened in 5 separate regions, and we had one go-to-market leader who was a practitioner who got to make that decision. So it was slightly different across all of them.
Yeah.
And they were
Interesting.
responsible for their own P&L, so it came out of their own
Yeah.
utilization, out of their own margin and everything. So they would juggle it. And it was interesting to watch. They had different strategies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How, also for you when you were working, pre-project works and consulting, Matt, how did that work for you? Did you get pulled into proposals?
Yes, a lot. I started my career as an engineer and kind of moved up into architecture. And so architecture type roles,
Yes. So yeah.
typically involve, but then
Yeah.
I ended up kind of doing so much pre-sales work. My role actually shifted to be like a technical account manager. So
Yeah.
most
Right.
of my work actually sort of transformed into developing like the new pipeline of work out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but I think Mark raises a really good point where, you've got to keep the saw sharp, right? Like if you're writing proposals and you start
Yeah.
getting too theoretical, you can get disconnected pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
it's hard when you've got, your best engineers or designers or whoever delivery people, and then, they're the ones you want doing proposals, but you also need them leading delivery, right? So you can
Yeah.
kind of end up in
Absolutely.
this well, you do end up in a situation where your best people get burned out because they're needed for everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. And, you know, if we go back to like what keeps people up, your consulting leaders up at night, I think new revenue would be a pretty common answer. Like, do I have enough
Yeah.
business coming in? Am I people going to be sitting on the bench? What am I going to do with that team when that project ends? But I think what you'd say, I would challenge what you asked delivery teams, what keeps them up at night. It's the current project they're working
Mm.
on, right? It's like
Mhm.
making sure that the thing that they're delivering today or to that deadline and that customer pressure. So if I am in a delivery role and I'm like, oh, by the way, can you also, as you said, Mark, in your 40-hour week, fit in filling out this proposal document? I imagine to them that feels pretty low in the priority chain, So then it's like, how do you keep that, balance of them understanding how important it is to win work if you're, and also if over half the time you're not successful. I think salespeople kind of understand that. They understand that half the time they're not going to win. Where I think sometimes if that's not an innate time, it's like I put in all this work and nothing happened for it. That can be quite a hard piece to run, because it just does consume so much time.
Yeah, we got to where we actually put it in their compensation plan.
Okay, the
So
delivery team.
delivery leads. So
Yeah.
we had, yeah, as they became more senior, they started to get a quota that would, if they hit it, it would affect their variable compensation. And so,
Okay.
like early on
They
for
became more
them,
interested.
yes, right?
Yeah.
They became very interested. So
Yeah.
early on, it was like in your current client, identify opportunities and hand them off to the senior people to go
Yeah.
sell. So that's like a way to like ease your way in. But then as you got to be the senior person, you had a quota of what you had to sell.
Yeah. Right.
And so they're really rare people that are really great practitioners that are happy to also have a quota like that. Like if you get
Yes.
those two in the same human being, it's
Then
really
like
magical.
keep him.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also very hard to find. But that was our model. Like
Was
we pushed that.
was there a lot of incumbent growth then? Like if I was a delivery lead and I had a quota, was it, I mean, I don't expect they were like cold calling out. So were they responsible for growing within their accounts and supporting
Well,
new
yeah, they did
business?
both. And there was something that was not intentional in our comp plan, but we discovered later was driving it, which is they got compensated based on how much revenue they had, how
Yeah.
fast it was growing, and what the margin was. If you sold a new client, there's no year-over-year growth rate.
Yes.
So you got full credit for 1 year
Yeah.
for that
For
client
that
being high
customer.
growth.
Cool. So that's yeah,
So
that's your
everybody wanted
motivation.
new clients because and we
Yeah.
also gave them a 6 month holiday on margin. We're like in the
Okay.
beginning, over deliver. We don't care
Yeah.
about margin, just make them happy.
Yeah.
So new clients were pretty attractive because you kind of get these two multipliers on your bonus for free.
Yeah.
So we didn't design it that way. There was a lot of growth of current accounts, but also current account leads wanted new clients because
Yeah,
they
of
had this
course. So they would
magical
actively, there
honeymoon.
was a
Yeah.
motivator for them to like actually look out in the market or talk to friends or family or other business connections. Yeah, kind of like that. Now
Yeah.
I've got some questions, so I might see if we can jump to these. Uh, One is, which I think links with this a bit. I have a talking point here around. Well, let me start with this. It says if more time is being spent on proposals, what is the latest numbers for utilization rates against capacity?
Hmm.
I'm wondering if,
It-
oh, yep, you got that?
well, I was just going to say this question's always a difficult one. I
Yeah.
always feel like I sound like a consultant when somebody asks me about utilization rates. Like it depends, but it to me it matters. Like, are you a differentiated service? And so in an account, do you get 50 or 60% account margin?
Yeah.
Or are you more commodity and you're getting maybe
Yes. And so
30
your
or
margin.
40% account margin? So kind of depending where you fit on that scale,
Yeah.
your utilization number could be, if you get really great margin, 50, 60% at the account level, your utilization could be 70%, and that's a
Yeah.
great business. We were more like 35% account margin, 30% gross margin. So our engineers were running greater than 90% utilization
Yeah.
to
Right.
make that work. So
The
to answer
balance.
that, I'd say like, are you premium or are you commodity? And then the range is anywhere from maybe 70, 75% if you're super premium
Yeah.
on up to maybe 90 plus if you're close to commodity.
Yeah. Cool. Great answer, Mark. Okay. And I've got another question here, which I also am interested in answering, which is when you're super small, read a solo consultant. What's the best way to balance fulfillments and increasing the number of clients you serve, like business development? And oh, that's a hard one, eh? Balancing sales and delivery when you're a solo consultant is a tricky one. And I think the truth is, I mean, like everything, if you're delivering, you need to really carve out dedicated time for business development. And I think the only way that really works is being very focused on who your ideal clients are. Like, what is the business you'd really like to win? If I was a solo consultant and I was sort of running a sales plan, that's what I would do. I'd be really clear on the businesses that I thought I could serve and that I wanted to win or have relationships with. I'd literally make a list of about 100 of them. And I would dedicate time every week for outreach, connecting on their LinkedIn posts, sending them information. You know, like I think you'd have to be quite targeted if you were a solo consultant there to get out and do that. And then essentially be able to, coming back to Matt's example on quality, when you do get the opportunity to pitch, be able to deliver a really high quality proposal or pitch to that customer. It is a hard one of how to
I think
grow
it
on that
depends
scale.
a little bit too. Like most people, when they go out, like for their first time solo consulting, will have like a cornerstone customer that will get them
Yes.
into that,
Yeah.
right? So you
Yeah.
often start with something. So I think it probably depends a little bit on that and like the longevity you see in that engagement. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you might go out as a solo customer and you might have 15 or 20 hours a week guaranteed, like
Yeah.
as your bedrock, and then you
Got this
might
other
take on
piece.
other
Yeah.
stuff, to supplement. So I think it depends a little bit on. I would just if you're not just covering your base costs, you should be focusing entirely on new business, right? Until you've
Yeah.
got at
Yeah.
least a baseline, and then you can be
Yeah.
thinking about like what's extra. But you need to be able to, um, have some confidence in some baseline of revenue so that you
Yeah.
don't have like anxiety about like just, being able to pay your
Keeping you
rent
up
or
at night.
whatever it
Yeah.
is, right? So I
Yeah.
think that's like, and then you might get like a lot of solo consultants will have like a larger engagement and that might go for 12 months.
Yeah.
And then when that's coming up, you need to be thinking about the next thing. So it
Yeah.
kind of depends a lot on the type of work you're doing, really.
Yeah.
But I
Totally.
would just say at a bare minimum, you need to be,
Make sure that you've
having,
got.
having a baseline. And if you don't, you should be focusing entirely on getting to that.
Yes. Yep. I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
I would also say that same trade-off applies, which is if you can get a really high price, you can kind of price in some of your time being not billable. It works the same way in a solo shop as it does with a
Yeah.
big group. And if you cannot get a high
Yeah. True.
price, I think Matt could speak to this more than me, but I think being a founder is hard. That's kind of where I think you land. If you're not
Yeah.
getting a high price, you're probably putting in a lot of hours, because you have to work more hours just to pay the bills, and
Yeah.
you have to sell more work. And it's just, I think at that stage, it's just hard.
Yeah.
It also, I think it depends like what you're trying to get out of being a solo consultant, right? Some people
Yeah.
want to be a solo consultant for a lifestyle choice. They might just want to do some hours or not have a boss and not have
Yeah.
employees.
Yeah.
Or you might be looking to start building your own, 1,000-person consulting firm. And I think like the way you engage in new business is very different depending on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally right. Okay, I'm going to shift a little bit to talking about, away from, I guess, from the prospecting to the actual proposal. So now we're in a situation where we've got an opportunity, right? And how that runs through. I guess, what do you think personalized means? Like beyond swapping out a client's name on a document, where it's 2026, people expect things to be personalized. Everything can be done in AI, so copy can be done quickly, and so how do you like break through? What do you think about that, guys, in terms of what does personalized mean?
Yeah. Matt, do you want to go first? I've got some thoughts, but
Yeah. Yep, I can go first on that. So if you think about what a proposal is at the end of the day, it's a document that should give the customer confidence that you can do what you say you're going to do, right? And that comes in there's a bunch of ways that kind of manifests, but there's a lot of detail that I think is still missed in proposals now, right? So I still get proposals today from quality vendors where the case study is showing how they transformed a government agency or a nonprofit or something. And I'm like,
that's
I'm
not
a
us.
B2B SaaS company, and I know you have B2B SaaS clients. Like, why
Yeah.
is this case study not showing me how you've done exactly what I'm engaging you to do for someone else? It's a case study that's not relevant to me. And so I think personalization means like, give me confidence that you can do what you say you're going to do. And the more you can do through, example and proving like your track record, the better. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for that. And like, it sounds obvious. People are like, yeah, well, you just put in a relevant case study. It's like, but I still get today all the time case studies that are not relevant.
Totally.
So,
and I would, from being in sales and team before, I would say often than not, it's the case study that was in the template prior, or it was just I sent out this proposal last week, and going back to our earlier conversation, I've got 10 to do and I have to get it out the door. I'm just going to push it out with those 3 case studies. I remember being in roles where it was like, those were the 3 case studies at the end of every proposal document. That was it. Like, you're right. There wasn't a lot of thought put into that. And those things are like crucial. I mean, that's a pretty big selling point, like, have you worked with people like me before? Like, do you understand my needs in my business? Is there like a proof point here?
So a lot of it, to me, like the personalization is not like that rocket science. It's like it's a million like little things that prove to me that you've done this before well, and give me that confidence.
Yeah. One other thing I would say that I think is newly easier is you're kind of telling a story. You're saying, I have this expertise, we're going to apply it to your situation, and your world's going to get better, and it's going to look like this, and you kind of wave your hands a lot. I think now you can show them. Like, you can either make a demo, make a short video. All of these things are easier than they were a year or 2 ago. And
you're
so
totally right.
it's going to become table stakes
Yeah.
to like for that, because people, when they see it, they're like, oh, like even though you've been talking about it and describing it, and like as soon as they see it, it just somehow it clicks. So I think that's going to become part of personalizing, is like show them what you're promising to deliver. So they really clearly get it.
I love that. And I think, being so, like when I was first in sales, we used to print beautiful books that I drive and deliver, and then it became like, oh, we're the organization that have a really flash PowerPoint. And that was like out of the sea of proposals, ours looked better. I think that's not the differentiation. It differentiates anymore, just looking like people can do that. That should be really table stakes, that you have a slick, put together proposal. So therefore it means like if you've got that happen, already happening, your time should be carved out for making it unique and personal. And that I kind of hold a little bit of hope around that, like AI revolution, that actually personalization and connection through people will become more important, because all of that other stuff will become table stakes. So then people will have more time to connect in that way.
Yeah, really show them you understand the pain point they're describing, and then show them
yes.
here's how we're going to solve it. Even if it's just like a little movie trailer,
Yeah.
you still got to build the rest out. But yeah, that'll
And if you
click, hopefully.
think about a billable person, like if we go back to that pre-sales and I'm like, cool, hello, solution architect. I need you to spend time. I would much rather them spend time doing a short video or writing a blurb of articulating how to solve their problem than trying to find their bios for their team that were written 2 years ago, or retyping stuff or formatting a document. Like, trust me, I can charge you out for a much higher rate than, formatting words. Like, I feel like those days are gone. We have a question in here. So would you include testimonials from previous projects, or demo content sounds good too?
Yeah, both, if you can. I mean, definitely testimonials from previous projects and as relevant as possible. And like Mark says, some of the advancements in AI, you can knock together prototypes so fast. If you think about the investment that you're making in proposal, like putting a proposal together anyway, that you can put something tangible in a customer's hand, just give them that little bit more confidence that you kind of understand what they're looking for, I think is helpful. So it comes down to the amount of time that you've got, obviously, and how your numbers work to be able to make these investments. But I think like this stuff differentiates for sure. And it's very easy now with, Replit and Figmas and, the tools. You can knock together something just to give the customer confidence that you understand their problem.
Those are cool AI tools, by the way, for people who didn't know those names of those products. Now, to segue a little bit here, obviously we have our Chief Product Officer on the call here. We, at Projectworks have really been thinking about this. This is something that we believe keeps our customers up at night, the winning work, and our platform, we believe, does an incredible job of managing the projects you have on the go, looking at your entire business, how it's running, your projects, the margin, the collective view of how successful you're being. We've been talking a little bit about how we extend that value for customers. How do we support them? At the moment, ours is like once you have a project live, begin. So we've been thinking about how do we extend that, I guess, reach and support for customers. And is that a good segue, Matt, for you to talk a little bit about what we've been working on?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so as I think most of you will know, we're making some investment in building out some proposal functionality or some tools to help people with this. It's really come from a combination of a few things, right? Like Projectworks started as a product that was for delivering projects, and over time, we do a lot of customer research, and we kind of have this kind of recurring conversations like what we've been having today, right? A lot of the pain points from founders and things are spending my time on proposals. And then when Mark joined the business, Mark kind of come in and was fresh out of running a consulting firm, and we were talking a lot about like, oh man, there's this like opportunity here for proposals. Like that's what's keeping me up at night as like the founder. Like we're working on all of this like new business, and like Mark rightly said as well, like there aren't that many problems your revenue doesn't solve, right? Like if you've got revenue coming in, you can figure out other stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other kind of part of it is advancements in technology. Like LLMs are great for large blocks of language, right? And that's generally what 90% of a proposal is. It's just a lot of words. So at Projectworks, we've kind of had this kind of combination of things where it's become really obvious to us that this is a place we should go. So a year or two ago, we kind of spun up an internal proposals team to start just exploring this problem. And now we have kind of the first kind of results of our kind of beta of what's going to come out the end of that coming through. So essentially we're building a product where you can kind of ingest all of your existing like quality proposals and as much kind of data and context about your firm and what you think a quality kind of proposal looks like. And then you can, on the other side of it, load in a bunch of requirements. So that could be in the form of like a more formalized RFP. It could be just like some email threads. It could be a whole bunch of stuff. And then basically creating like a proposal generator. So it'll take like all of your what you think a quality proposal is, take the requirements, and like lay up like a draft for you. So it's kind of a sophisticated kind of proposal builder, but using kind of the advancements in AI to do that. It's actually been a really fun project, and a lot of interesting insights come out of it, right? Like, so we kind of went into this project thinking, this is going to be very AI driven. But as we go through and we kind of talk with our customers, it's been really interesting. There's kind of like this internal friction with a lot of people where it's like, we want AI to do everything, but I still want to be in control of everything. And it's like, people want to be in control because like, quality, and then like that's their differentiation and job security. There's a million reasons, but it's also like, I kind of want AI to do the work as well. So it's been a really fun UX problem to kind of build a product that kind of does everything for you, like, but just to the level you want. So you're still in control as much as you can be. And so there's a lot of, little quality of life things we're building. So like if you go into like a content block, it'll show you like how much of that is actually AI generated. It will guide you to where like, it thinks you should really put your kind of human eye over stuff. So
that's pretty cool.
So it's been incredible. We've been working with a bunch of existing customers, like in a kind of an alpha program of this, and it's been pretty incredible what's coming out of it. So we've kind of launched into, I think, next quarter like a closed beta, like there's a whole bunch of stuff. Like kind of what I talked to with the case study example, right? There's a bunch of really low hanging fruit. Like you don't need a human to go and put the relevant case study in, right? Like that's a pretty safe thing to go and be like, here's our library of existing work we've done or case studies. Here's a requirements thing. Find me the right case study. Ideally, go and find me the right case study and write a proposal thing based on these are your requirements. And this is exactly how we've done that for this customer. So like that's kind of a really safe kind of thing to do. And then you might go and cast a human eye on that. But that's a very kind of low effort, cheap way to like differentiate and give your end customer that confidence that you can do it without
when you get like slightly bigger, like when you're starting to run, there is recency bias of your delivery directors being like, oh, I think that project it's like, you forgot that project we did 2 years ago, so there's a part of it of like, if you're the delivery lead who didn't happen to be on that project 2 years ago, that's exactly like that one, then it might not come to mind. So, that sort of stuff is so good. Yeah.
And that's where having that's where we really differentiate, having the proposals product as part of your PSA, right? Because you've got all the context of all your team, all your successful projects, all your availability. So there's all these opportunities that we're kind of actively working on where you're kind of augmenting your PSA data with what's needed in a proposal, right? So some obvious bits are like the scope and resourcing, right? So you can put a proposal together with like knowing what availability you have and what skill sets, and so that can become quite like the proposal process becomes really kind of entwined in the delivery process. And I think that's actually something really interesting that we've discovered is that existing CRMs, I don't think serve the consulting world particularly well because like existing CRMs are usually set up as like a pipeline of it's like, okay, there's a sales process and then you sell something and then it goes into delivery.
Quite a heavy marketing lean as well, like quite a heavy sort of
marketing lean. Whereas consulting is more like a flywheel. Exactly right. It's like you deliver, and then you're like, if you keep delivering well, you keep signing more work, and you have variations and change controls and things like that. So we're kind of thinking about it. It's like today it's proposals, but it's actually kind of broader than that. It's really thinking about how our consulting customers think about winning new work and how it's actually really deeply embedded in their delivery process. It's kind of more like thinking about it like this very constant flywheel rather than a traditional kind of sales funnel.
Yeah, awesome.
So that's some of the stuff that's coming through.
It is really that sort of early stage of the piece. And you're right about like, I think in consulting, there is much more relationship-led sales piece. When I was using CRMs to manage sales teams in consulting, it really was managing, I guess, like at what stage a proposal was really it. You know what I mean? Like it only really entered the pipeline when it was there, even if we'd been speaking to them for a long time, because there's not a big digital footprint when you're sort of out connecting, you know, and making, it's not like there's been a lot of like marketing emails going out. That's not often the end to suddenly then you get a chance to pitch, you know, it's often more relationship led, I find, in consulting. So really first that entry point is a proposal.
We have a question in the chat.
Oh, cool.
I don't know. Do you want to take that one, Dom, or do you want to?
Yes, yeah, stand by. Let's have it. So,
and then the other thing I was going to say while you're looking at that real quick is, hey, Matt, where do I go if I want to be in your private beta? What do I do?
Yes, so if you jump on our website, projectworks.com, then you'll see up the top there is
I can actually put it in the chat, Matt, as well.
Okay,
yeah, we can put the link in the chat for that.
Yeah, cool. So if you click on features, then proposals, you'll see we've actually rolled out a little bit of the back-end functionality to be available on the public website. So we've created like this proposal grading tool, and that's kind of using a little piece of the technology that we're using in our product. So you can load a proposal in and it will give you a bit of a score and tell you what's kind of good about it and where potential areas of improvement are. Yeah, there's the link Dom's just put in the chat. Thanks, Dom.
Cool. And this is a question from Mark. Hi, Mark. Mark Easton, our path to our proposal writing, it's understanding the activities needed and associated pricing. So Mark's asking about the dreaded estimation question. And you're totally right. I often found this, you make this proposal and then you'd have to estimate it. So he's saying, is that an area that we're thinking about?
Absolutely right. Like I say, it's so... The proposal process is so entwined in delivery, and one of the great things about having it built on, on your PSA is you can, there's a lot of elements to estimation. There's scope, margin, etc. So there's some really easy things we can do. So you're building a proposal and you can see in real time the margin you're going to be making as you're starting to swap in people and hours, etc. and rates, because we know everybody's cost rate. You can make sure, some of these baselines are covered. So you're building a proposal, and most people are doing this in a spreadsheet today. Even if they are using products to build proposals, like the actual math part is often done in a spreadsheet. So that is now just covered for you. You don't need to worry about that. But you've also got context of every existing project you've delivered and knowing how well it went. So you can go back through and be like, this project that we delivered looks similar to this RFP. What did we miss? Cool. So you can go and sort of start checking and be like, actually, this project here, the way that it was scoped out with its kind of, detailed work breakdown structure, like this had all the stuff and we actually closed this project out and we made good margin on it compared to this one where we missed a bunch of stuff. So you just start to have like all this extra kind of context when you're in the proposal thing to help you. You still need to kind of have that human knack, but it kind of gives you these superpowers to have context of everything you've ever done before to help with that decision making and make sure you're not kind of missing things. So if you're estimating usually comes down to scope. There's really a scope question. What's in
and also knowing who to talk to. Like I'm being really honest, when I was in consulting, we'd spend 2 weeks doing this proposal, and then it would really be the night before. I'd be like, okay, now the proposal's done. Let's now figure out who would be in the team and do that, because it's almost like the context. So to be able to do that like in sync would be incredible. So you're building that as you go. And then also it would be a problem for that would be then we'd almost often have a generic team in the proposal, because it wouldn't be until after the estimating that we'd even know who would be there. And then you're totally right. If I was, when you're 10 people in an agency, you can talk, hey, Matt, when did we last do that? How did that project go? When you get to 30, 40 people, I might not be across the project that you delivered last year. That is exactly the same as, so then I'm like, oh, look, this is exactly the same. I can talk and get those learnings. Like it just helps so much to be able to really move on that so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Okay, we're nearly at time, guys. In fact, I think we are at time. I'm going to put a link in here, another one. We put together a really cool report on winning work. So I've put that link in there if anyone's interested in that, to tie back to sort of our earlier chats. Now, final reminder, Matt, when can our audience expect to see this in action?
Well, you can go and sign up today on the website, and one of our team will reach out to you. But next quarter, we'll be going into like a more formalized beta process. So
awesome.
Pretty soon.
Okay, cool. Pretty soon. I like that. That's good. We're near there. This is it. It's all in action.
Like a true product person, right?
Super cool.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts you want to leave our audience with today, Mark, before we sign off?
Yeah, win more work. That
Win more
is the answer
work.
to most of your challenges. Was my experience anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone that's listening today, it will be on their mind at some point today. There will be some point today where they'll be thinking about how to win more work. So I agree. It's the never-ending challenge, and the way to make that speedier, more successful, and higher quality, I think, is sort of the aim of the game. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. If you're interested in seeing the proposals feature, jump on that link. Make sure you subscribe to the Projectworks podcast on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and we will be back in 2 weeks for episode 4. That's us. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.